I'm Allonia Water, and welcome back to our channel where I share information on generational healing and healing from trauma. I wanted to start by telling you about a story. When I was bedridden from burnout, unable to care for myself while my teenage daughter Rose became one of my caregivers, I thought I had failed. I thought I had failed as a mother, failed as a woman, and failed at the basic task of just functioning. I didn't understand yet that my collapse was actually my breakthrough. My body wasn't failing me, it was actually finally protecting me from the patterns that I had inherited, the belief that rest had to be earned, that boundaries were selfish, and that my worth came from how much that I could endure. And those patterns weren't mine, they were generational. And my mother had worked herself in her lifetime to exhaustion, her mother before her, and the women before them. So survival meant pushing through, silencing your needs, proving your value through sacrifice, right? So I didn't just inherit my mother's eyes or her hands, I inherited her survival strategies. And those survival strategies almost killed me. What I learned through my healing journey, through Reiki training, womb keeper certification, and years of deep ancestral work in building my society, the Soft Heart Society with Rose, is this. I learned that generational trauma doesn't heal through insight alone, it heals through a process. And the process is what we now call in the Soft Heart Society, the Lineage Liberation Method. This is 3 sacred phases of witnessing, releasing, and remembering. So this isn't a program that you complete in 6 weeks. It's actually a cyclical practice you return to again and again. And each time that you return to it, you return at a deeper level, each time breaking free just a little bit more, right? So let me walk you through each phase, what it is, why it matters, and why the Lineage Liberation Method works. So, phase 1 is witnessing, and this is seeing what was passed down. You cannot heal what you cannot see. So, the first phase of healing generational trauma is witnessing, looking clearly at the patterns, beliefs, and the wounds that were passed down through your lineage. So, this isn't about blaming your mother or blaming your grandmother. It's about seeing the full picture, the context that they lived in, the survival strategies that they needed, the ways that those strategies helped them survive but are now harming you. So, what we're witnessing here is when you enter the witnessing phase, you're asking vital questions, right? So, you're asking questions like, what did my mother teach me about rest? What did she teach me about boundaries? What did she teach me about my worth? What survival strategies did she use that I have inherited? Or maybe the question is, what was she carrying that got passed down to me before I even had words? Which is very deep, right? Or maybe what patterns show up in my life that I've seen in the women before me? So, examples of generational patterns that we can witness include people pleasing and over functioning, the belief that your worth comes from usefulness, the inability to rest without guilt. That's what led me to my burnout. I felt guilty for wanting to even rest. So, survival mode normalized. This is survival mode normalized across generations, resting, the inability to rest without guilt, lack of boundaries, belonging through sacrifice, saying yes when you actually mean no, silencing your voice. Women before you weren't allowed to speak their truth. So we grow up a lot of times silencing our voices, even though our voices want to be heard. Mistrust of your body, disconnection passed down through trauma, abuse, guilt, and shame. Mistrusting your body, not knowing what you want to do, not being in rhythm with your body and your sacred feminine. Financial scarcity despite hard work, the working poor, the immigrant struggles, the provider wound. You want to provide for everyone around you. That's another thing that led to my complete burnout, is feeling like I had to protect and provide for everyone in my family unit and even outside of my family unit. Anxiety and hypervigilance. Your nervous system is shaped by your mother's fear during pregnancy, and this is passed down to the fetus. Your baby is in the void, in this beautiful portal, but in the void, and is picking up all of the energy, the thoughts, the emotions of the mother while they are in gestation. So if your mother is filled with anxiety, guilt, and shame, that is passed down through pregnancy, through the lineage. So why is witnessing important? Why do it matter? Before I entered the witnessing phase, I thought my burnout was a personal failure. I didn't see the lineage pattern. I didn't see that my mother worked herself sick too, right? Or that her mother sacrificed everything for her children, or the women before them survived by being useful, needed, or indispensable, right? My collapse wasn't about being weak. It was about a survival strategy that had outlived its usefulness. Once that I could see this clearly, I could witness the pattern without being guilty or being shameful of it. And I could begin the process, which was a difficult process, because at the end of the day, you do have to do the work. But I began the process to release it. So, witnessing practices in the Lineage Liberation Method and the Soft Heart Society, we practice this through altar work, creating sacred space to honor your ancestors and look at what they passed down. We honor the great women, the wise women, the sacred mothers in our lineage. And at the altar, we meet them there to come together in order to repair our lineage. How beautiful is that, right? So they help us, give us the tools that we need to be able to send love and light through our lineage, past, present, future, heal areas of our lineage, and, send that good energy out into the future. Ancestral mapping. We journal the patterns in your mother line as well as your father line. Womb connection practices, asking your womb what she's been holding that isn't yours, which is very, 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 very important to do. Body scans, noticing where these patterns live in your physical form, tension in your shoulders from carrying everyone, that clenched jaw from unsaid words, not speaking your truth, disconnection from your pelvis. We do circle sharing, speaking the patterns out loud and being witnessed without judgment or fixing. The witnessing phase is not about staying stuck in the story, it's about seeing clearly so you can choose differently. And when you witness a pattern, you break the unconscious spell and you stop repeating it automatically. You create space for something new. But knowing isn't enough. You also have to release what your body has been holding. So phase 2 is releasing, letting the body discharge what is holding. Your mind can understand the pattern, but your body has to let it go. So this is where most healing modalities stop short. They give you insight, they give you awareness and understanding, but generational trauma doesn't live in your thoughts. It lives in your nervous system, your womb, your tissues, and your breath. And the releasing phase is where we move from intellectual awareness into embodied transformation. Right? So, what we're releasing when you enter the releasing phase, you're working with stored emotions, that rage that you've been swallowing, the grief that you weren't allowed to feel, the fear that's been running in the background for decades. And we're looking at our somatic holding patterns, tension, numbness, disconnection from your body. A lot of people don't feel connected to their body, to their goddess temple, and also chronic pain, ancestral energy, trauma passed down through the womb, patterns held in your DNA, epigenetics. Outdated survival responses, hypervigilance, fawning, freeze states, constant scanning for danger, those survival being in survival mode. So you can't think your way out of a freeze response. You can't journal your way out of generations of suppressed rage. You have to move it through your body. And why does the body hold trauma, and why does the body have to release it? So when trauma happens, your nervous system stores it. And if you couldn't fight or flee, you froze. And that freeze energy stays in your body until it's discharged. So for generational trauma, it's even deeper. Your mother's stress hormones while she was pregnant with you absorbed them. Her nervous system state became your baseline. Your grandmother's unprocessed grief, it lives in your womb. The collective trauma of women in your lineage who were silenced, violated, and overworked, your body remembers all of that. So the releasing phase honors this truth. Healing is not just cognitive, it's also somatic. In the Soft Heart Society, we practice releasing through Reiki, sound healing, womb work, breath work, somatic practices, shadow work, grief rituals, and guided meditations, and so much more. Releasing is not comfortable. This is normal. This is medicine. And releasing isn't a one-time event. It's actually a practice. Phase 3 of our model is remembering. So here we reclaim who you are beneath all of the conditioning. So beneath all the trauma, all the conditioning, all the survival strategies, you were always whole. The remembering phase is about returning to yourself, not the version that your family needed you to be, not the version that corporate culture demands of you, not the version that trauma shaped. the you that existed before the world told you who to be. So when you enter the remembering phase, you're reclaiming your voice, you're reclaiming your boundaries, your softness, the part of you that had to harden to survive, your pleasure and your aliveness. So sensory joy, play, rest, embodiment, right? Your cyclical nature, not like honoring your body's rhythms instead of forcing linear productivity, which isn't sustainable in the long term. You're reclaiming your worthiness and your feminine power, your intuition, your womb wisdom, your creation, sacred feminine energy. So this isn't about becoming someone new. It's about excavating who you've always been. So remembering is radical. In a culture that demands that we produce, perform, and push through, choosing softness is a gentle rebellion. It's a rebellion, right? And it's a revelation for us as well. So, in a lineage where women survive by being useful, choosing rest is revolutionary. In a world that shames feminine power, reconnecting with your womb and your womb wisdom is sacred defiance. So, the remembering phase is where you become the cycle breaker. You remember who you are and who you refuse to pass the old patterns down to. So in the Soft Heart Society, we practice remembering through inner child healing, boundary work, soft living practices, womb reconnection, reprogramming work such as affirmations, mirror work, rewriting old beliefs that you may have had about yourself, creative expression, and community celebration. Because witnessing each other's transformation, honoring how far you've come, is very important. Healing happens in community, not solidarity. So remembering feels like coming home. And it is coming home to yourself. You feel like yourself for the first time in years or maybe ever. So this is work. This is the medicine. This is how generational patterns actually break. So if this video resonated with you, make sure to like, subscribe, or share our channel. Leave us a comment in the comment box and join us at the Soft Heart Society. Our information is in our bio. And you can visit us at www.aloniarose.com. Until the next video, be blessed, and I will see you then.